Hello, and welcome to Austin Miller's Postgrowers Podcast, Episode 4, with Louis Campbell.
Hello, I'm Louis Campbell. I'm a friend of Austin Miller. I play the guitar and sing songs.
Nice. So the first segment is what, why, when, where. So what do you write about, why do you write, when do you write, and where do you write?
You've got quite the Will Wheaton with that.
The
with those whys.
Yeah, the whys, whens, and wheres.
So, you generally, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do I write? Because I enjoy it, and
Good answer.
I mean, yeah, that's it. Really, it's a nice thing to do. It's a good way of thinking about things.
It is, yeah. It makes you kind of, yeah. It's a different. It allows you to look at certain things in different ways and in different and get different perspectives on things. I find, and
Yeah.
it's not when
Why do you write?
Why do I write? I write because to try and make sense of things, I suppose.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and it does give you that sense of perspective on whatever you're writing about. You know. It can be a good thing, and it can also be a bad thing, you know. But yeah, I found recently as well, you've got to like, distance yourself a bit from it, because you shouldn't take it too seriously.
Oh, definitely.
Depending on what you're writing about, but yeah.
Are the things that you write, are they quite literal, or do you add a load of bullshit to them?
A bit of both. It can't all be literal, you know. There's always got to be little bits of bullshit. Yeah, but what about you?
Oh, there's loads of bullshit.
Yeah.
It's normally based on something true, but I'm a sucker for sticking it in third person and adding a load of fake stuff.
Yeah.
Just makes it more interesting. I think pretend people are much more interesting than me.
Yeah. So
that's why.
It's why do you write? No, it's what do you write about?
What do I write about?
Subject matter. Things like that.
Lots of character songs.
Mm.
Quite a lot of sort of almost stories, but not really.
Yeah.
Typically darker.
Mm-hmm.
Partly because it's really hard to write happy songs.
Yeah, we've spoken about this with other people as well. Like, if you're like, who was it? I think it was Matt was saying, it was like, unless you're Jack Johnson, you know, it's quite difficult to.
But even then, like, they're shit
Making
songs.
banana pancakes. It's like, why? Like, how do you do it?
Comes across as unbelievably twee.
Depends how you do it.
You can write good happy songs.
Stereophonics, Have a Nice Day. If that's what it's called. Have a nice day.
I just think of that as the song from Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Is it an Alvin and the Chipmunks?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure I walked out that movie.
Do you fact check this before it's released?
No.
It now.
Let's fact check it as we're.
Alvin and the Chipmunks. What was that song called?
I think it's called Have a Nice Day.
Oh no, I'm confusing it with Had a Bad Day.
Is
that the same song?
No, a different song.
Different song. Sorry. There we go. That's why we fact check.
Yeah, one of the strangest things, one of the strangest moments, because I saw Stereophonics at Transmit a few years ago, and everyone being Glasgow, everyone was off their face, right, and on all sorts, and I'm standing there, and then they start playing this song, which is really like a really calm, chilled out song, and a big mosh pit opens up. Have a nice da 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 da, and I'm like, what on earth is going on?
That's beautiful. My only
Anyway,
memory of stereophonics is that we used to have to listen to them in year 10 PE, which was just weekly dodgeball to the soundtrack of Now That's What I Call Music 2006.
Nice.
Sorry, I got very distracted there. We were talking
Yeah.
about
When?
what?
What?
Yeah, typically we're talking about the darker songs. Yeah, I think it's not easier to write a darker song, but I feel like it's easier to have things to say about it. And I think the majority of the music I listen to would fall into that category.
Yeah, I think most people that write songs are the same, and it's also why they do it, to try and make sense of the darker stuff or subject matter. It tends to be a running theme, I think, throughout songwriting. So when do you write? If we've got the why, when do you feel most comfortable or most like creative?
It's a good question. I've thought about this quite a lot recently. I definitely believe in that 3-day rule thing. I don't know if you've heard about that. Where you need 2 days of nothing, and on the third day, then you can get down to business.
And so that's if you've got an idea, you leave it for 2 days and then come back to it. Or
no,
is it
like if you're like, oh, I'm not at college or gigging this week or whatever, and you're like, I'm going to do some writing.
Leave it for 2 days.
It just never happens on the first 2 days. Because if you force it, it's going to be crap.
Yeah.
And it just takes some nothingness to get there. And distraction's good. Recently, most of my writing's been while watching like crap documentaries and stuff.
Though what I also find as well with writing is like I'll be trying to do it, then I'll come away from it, I'll go like, this isn't working. I'll come away from doing it, and I'll go and I'll brush your teeth, or you go for a shower, or whatever. Then you start getting all the lines start coming into your head because you're humming it around it. If it's a catchy melody, and you're like, oh, I need to write this down.
That's the thing. If you think about it, it's not going to be good. You need to be elsewhere and not worrying about the quality of it. Like if it's not the main thing in your head at that time, sort of, is this awful? Doesn't come into it as much.
Yeah.
I don't know if you find that.
Yeah, you're not thinking about it as much as you would be if you're doing something else.
Yeah.
You're not judging yourself. And then where do you write? Where? So it could be where. It could be. It's like that episode of Family Guy with Stewie. He's like, cool whip. Anyway, the where comes into it like physically, where are you? Or it could be like, where do you write the songs down? Who do you store them? Where do you keep them?
Okay. Storing wise, I do quite a lot. Well, I do some voice memoing, I sent you a couple earlier. Typically just like immediately after like a guitar idea is there. I don't do too much of that though, because like not like all the time, but I kind of like the idea that like if it's a good song, you'll probably remember it.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes a mixture of voice memos and just remembering it. Lyric wise, got a little book. Sometimes write it in there. Sometimes just paper. Got a lot of notes on my phone. I've got some really funny ones on my phone of just one-off lines that I'm never going to use.
Did you share any of them, or?
I'll have a look. Shall I have a look? There was one we were going to have a competition to use a lyric, but neither of us did.
What was that? There was a lyric. There was a couple. There was one you wrote for me actually. Like, you can have this. Remember that?
I do.
You wrote an Austin Miller chorus.
I think it was more the fact that it was a chorus, so therefore I think.
Yeah, that's what. I think you
got on
sent it.
here.
I'm sure we can put it in here if I find it or you find it.
Oh yeah, go on. I'm sure you'll find it somewhere. I think I sent it to you on Facebook once. Here you go. Blue is a child that drinks full fat milk straight from the bottle, then puts it right back again in the middle of the fridge with no screw top on. I used that one. This is a chorus, sort of chorus, that I've had since like January, and has been in many different forms. I think it's going to be like a 45-second song, which I'm quite into at the moment.
Yeah.
I like really short songs, which is when it peels, it's the inside that leaves you, just skin and the fruit leaves debris. Suckle juices till all pain reduces, like tits, but with vitamin C. OD on vitamin C.
That's brilliant.
I
think that's all you need. I think you need to like a guitar line and you just say that once.
I quite like short songs. I've been listening to Pinegrove.
Yeah.
I like Pinegrove. They have that song Phase, which is like 42 seconds. And it's great because it's got all you need in it.
Oh, I think Phase is the one of the like. I know.
I mean Phase?
No, I think it's another one in the album.
What a good posture, good lighting,
yeah.
evening. That one. It's great.
Oh, I'll get it. I can find it in this actually.
It's on
that's
going to
annoy me. Yeah, it's in the new one.
We're doing more fact checking.
Do more fact checking. It's Spiral.
Spiral. Yes, it is.
It's 56 seconds long.
Prog.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I like short songs. I'm interested in them at the moment. I've been learning lots of I've learned all of Pink Moon by Nick Drake, the whole album, which is 11 songs, but it's 27 minutes long.
Yeah.
They're mostly like just under 2 minutes. And it's good. If you can get it all out in under 2 minutes, why not?
I know. Yeah. I've been finding that like I'll write stuff and I need to have more music, or I need to have more stuff to add in. But then you find that you end up taking lots of stuff out. You don't need to go this one. For example, that little riff that I was writing earlier that I showed you there, like that can carry the whole song. Like when you think of try to think of something that comes to my head about it. Like Black Bull by Foles. That it's just the same riff the whole way through.
Yeah.
And it's just everything else you put on top of the
definitely
the music that changes it.
And especially lyrically, because if you've said what you want to say, like if you were like having a conversation with someone, you wouldn't explain something quite well and then
explain that again.
Yeah.
That's what I find with your music is it's almost like you're having a conversation with someone. It's very conversation. What's the word? Conversation. I don't know.
Conversational.
Conversational. Yeah. Yeah. So the next part is influences. So what influences you? It could be absolutely anything.
Oh blimey.
Anything that comes to mind. Unusual.
So not just music, you mean?
Not just music. I mean, it can be music, but anything at all. If maybe we want to start with music.
Should we start with music?
Yeah.
I mean, all sorts. This is so unhelpful. A good mixture of things. A lot of folk music, a lot of singer-songwriter music. People like Conor Oberst and Elliott Smith and Phoebe Bridgers and Nick Drake and John Martin. I like a lot of sort of not quite rapping but sort of talky music, like The Streets and Benjamin Clementine, stuff like that. Loudon Wainwright III, I love. He's the main thing I love about him is he has like the saddest songs in the world, like song Reciprocity, which is about like the first line's they got drunk last night, had a knockdown, bar out fight. She threw a chair and he threw an ashtray, and all sorts of like dark shit like that. And then has like hilarious songs like Rufus is a Tit Man and I Don't Think That Your Wife Likes Me and Dead Skunk. you know I don't think your wife likes me?
No, I'm not hearing
It was so beautiful.
You need to send me these after this.
Oh, I will. But the sort of the two extremes makes the funnier songs funnier than they are, and the sadder songs sadder than they are. And I like that a lot.
Yeah. You're a man of extremes, Louis. A man of extremes.
And then musically, I guess, lots of the sort of English folk guitar style, like Nick Jones, Martin Simpson, and lots of like Radiohead and James Blake and sort of experimental modern music.
Yeah, you can. It does all kind of come into your style.
Just like a mix.
Yeah.
And then not music influences. A lot of comedians. I love Stuart Lee.
Oh, that's interesting. Comedians. Is it stuff they say, or is it like? Obviously,
partly. But and like how they construct a thing. I'm not sure how much it like directly comes into things, but I like watching comedians. In fact, Stuart Lee's got a good thing about writing. I'll mention that just because it's good. About how his best jokes come from triangulation of something that's real, something that's fabricated, and then the point between the two, which can relate to songwriting quite nicely. Like something that's happened to you, some bullshit, and then how the two can come together.
Put them together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there you go. There's some profound actual podcast talk for you. Yeah, that sort of stuff. Oh, I unplugged myself. There we
go. Oh, got a bit excited there.
All the intellectualism.
Yeah. I like that, the comedians though. That is interesting. I haven't heard that from anyone before.
Really?
No, I mean, especially with songwriting. I mean, obviously you got like comedic like songwriters. You know, like you've got what's his name?
Tim Minchin.
Forgot. Tim. Yeah, that's it. And you got like you've got like Tenacious D, obviously, and then Flight the Conchords. These kind of bands that do like slapstick.
It's really hard.
It's difficult to do it well.
Comedy is definitely a lot harder than music.
Yeah. It's harder to be funny than it is to be sad. And that's the.
Although it all comes together. Like, a lot of comedians are obsessed with really dark music, and a lot of really dark musicians hang out with a lot of comedians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole like Largo scene in Los Angeles, where it's all like, you know, the Elliott Smith types hanging out with all the comedians. Happens.
Nice. So yeah, have you got any in this next part? It's like songwriting techniques you might use, or anything interesting you might do to construct a song?
Not really. I don't think about it too much.
That in itself is
for better or worse. I guess adding in bullshit in third person.
Yeah,
is part of that. And
comedians
techniques. No, I don't really use any. I know I've heard people talk about things they do, but I don't really use them. I think Sarah Watkins like writes down 2 full sides of paper of nothingness, of just like random scribbles, and then the last line will be the first line of the song. People do stuff like that. But I don't really. Just bash it out.
Bash it out. It's like the pros
one
do.
thing. I do quite a lot of the in fact, we can talk about this because it's in the second voice memo I sent you. Sort of how the very start of a lyrical idea can come from sort of the vowel sounds of you scatting out a melody. I use that quite a lot.
I do the same.
Yeah, that's sort of what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then sometimes you get random words come into it, and then you're like, oh, there's something I can work from. And then some other times you'll have something cool. So let's have a go at the song journey, shall we say, segment. from from start to finish.
Is that what your autobiography is going to be called? Austin Miller Song Journey.
Nothing really happens, to be fair. They're all probably going to be the same. Here's dominant chord 4. Here's the chorus. Here's a little bridge.
There's the end. Know about the Austin Miller chord?
You can explain, yeah. You can give them a little insight.
In every single one of Austin's songs.
No, not all of them. Like most of them, though.
Like a cheeky little secondary dominant 7th chord. And he just loves it. It's always right before the chorus, the end of the bridge, and he does a little face while he's playing it, and it's lovely.
Yeah,
it's good. It's like a signature thing. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm playing with the idea of because there's a couple of songs that we didn't get to record last month, but we will record in September, hopefully.
Yeah.
That I've both got the same. In the bridge, one of the songs is the same chord progression as the chorus of another song, and we're playing around to the idea of putting the melody from one song into the bridge of the other song, like a little like piano bit, and like linking the two together.
Yeah, that's a cool thing.
But yeah, let's go back to the process of from the start to the finished product of the song. Yeah. So you sent over a song. Do you like to tell us a bit about the song, how it started?
Sure.
From the first?
So I picked quite an old song, so that I was going back to like voice memos and stuff that I haven't heard in ages to be a bit more, to be less attached to them, and just to have a bit of hindsight on it. So this is a song that's called Walls That Are Tall, and the two voice memos are dated the 17th of September 2018, which was the Monday after the Saturday where we moved into halls together.
That's right. First year.
So it's probably the day after I met you. So it's probably about you.
Oh. No surprises there.
I can't imagine what else it would be about. And yeah. So yeah, I wrote the sort of guitar bit and basic melody then very quickly, and then most of the time I write songs pretty quickly, but this one was over a few months of sort of just adding verses because it's quite wordy.
There's a lot of words in it.
5 verses, no chorus, a sort of refrain, and a couple of instrumental bits. But yeah, and they're sort of, the verses can be quite separate, but sort of discuss a similar thing.
Yeah, nice. So let's have a listen. Cool.
So that's the first idea I recorded down. And it's most of the same chords as it ended up. The little refrain at the end is slightly different. A bit more dominant sounding in that. And the
slightly Austin Miller-esque.
The last chord before that I'm going to assume it's mostly musicians listening to it. The tune chord at the end, that's different. That's much more dominant-y. Yeah. And it's got this sort of swampy groove thing, which I ditched quite quickly, which I guess sounds a bit like
that thing.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like If I'm Unworthy by Blake Mills. It's got lots of that sort of thumb bass heavy thing with little staccato, stabby 3 notes at once with your fingers.
So did you
but the
remember this idea and then record the second voice memo? Or
the second voice memo is recorded about 5 minutes later, I think.
Oh, right. Nice.
So yeah, I will have remembered it and then just played it around it. It's one of those chord progressions that just loops around quite nicely. And yeah, and saves chord 1 right for the very end. It's quite nice.
Leaves you waiting in suspense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a listen to that.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Come on, come again. Working and talking, working and going, working and talking, and that's how time passes. Cool, yeah. So
you hear that refrain? It's pretty much the same as it ends up, isn't it?
Yeah, sort of. It's obviously the groove's a bit different, like we said before, and it's much more swung, that walking not talking bit. But like we said, that's got that. You can hear just about walking not talking in the sort of stamping. Where that comes from. Yeah, and it's sort of a lot dynamically bigger. There's lots of like slap harmonics and stuff you can hear at the end of that. Yeah, and quite a lot. And it doesn't have the this is before I got really into lyrics determining tempo and rubato, like quite heavily. With the walking not talking bit, where it speeds up massively and like pulls in and out.
Yeah, dig it.
And there it's super in time and quite swung. But yeah, like most of it's there.
Yeah. And so from that, how did you end up taking that idea and fleshing out a song from it?
Yeah, so I just played it round as a little thing for a while. Got the second verse first. And then so you just built up more verses. And yeah, as I got more into not playing in time, added that bit.
It's quite easy for a guitarist to do.
Added the little
it comes naturally.
The instrumental bit's quite led by the tuning. It's quite a simple part and very much like the sound of open D. What it's in, which is quite I don't normally play in that tuning. This is getting proper geeky now.
Go for it.
That's a very like American-y tuning because it's got the big major third in the middle. Whereas I'd normally play in modal tunings, which are more associated with European folk music. But yeah, it kind of gives it that slightly more bluesy vibe. Not that it's particularly bluesy, but it leaves room for those big, just strumming every string and having like a 2-finger chord, which comes out as quite drony and lush.
Yeah. Sounds nice, indeed. I do like this song. Okay, let's have a listen. It's a good tune. Let's have a listen. Louis hit the giggles here, everyone. So let's have a listen to the. Would you say it's the final version? You're saying you're going to add more stuff to the final EP mix, but
there are being fiddles recorded on it. Other than that, it's pretty much where it is.
Cool.
So it's just a live take of guitar and vocals at the same time. And then my friend Chris Rabbits. I don't know if you've met Chris. Used to go to bass band.
I think so. Yeah.
He played on it a bit. Lovely man. And then my friend Rachel, who I was in the National Youth Folk Ensemble with. She was a flautist, but she's singing on the 3rd and 4th verses.
Nice. Yeah. So let's have a listen.
She said, how should I spell my name? A Y and W perhaps could fit the billers. Newest glue that started to adhere but not fully received. Still needs some wait and time. Oh, wait, that's fine. Walking, not talking, just sharing the load with walking, so talking now and so. And that's how time passed. And he said, well, I wear glasses now, and folk often ask me how I lived so many years not seeing properly. I probably should have checked, but now I've huge respect for people that make windscreen wipers, 'cause when I'm walking in the rain it drives me insane when the rain builds up on my new glasses. Problems now that time's passed. And she said, do you ever reply now, or simply just imply now? Because to implicate leaves folks so far less irate, and I hate to state the truth, what we're feeling now. I'm just walking, not talking, just sharing the load of walking, so I'm talking now and so. And that's how time passed. And he said, well, I often look at walls and think about how tall they are, but with distance and perspective it's quite hard to know how tall they are. It's hard to tell how tall they are. Do I check in feet or metric, and am I standing at a weird angle? And even if I guess right, I've got no realistic means of checking. Problems now that time's passed. She said, when you go home now and you're walking through the playground, do the trees feel closer to your head? Closer than you remember them feeling when you were last there? Now I'm just walking, not talking, just sharing the load with walking, so you're talking now and so. Problems now that time's passed. Now the time's passed.
I love that bit, that note, that bluesy note at the end. You bent.
That's a complete John Smith ripoff. He loves to do that.
Yeah.
Always bending up the third at the very end of the song.
Yeah,
it's a cool sound. And I forgot to mention that's Gabe Alexander on shaker and snare drum.
Mm-hmm. I like that. It adds that extra texture at the end. You know,
yeah, just a tiny bit. I didn't want to add too much.
Mm-hmm. It's good being quite sparse, you know. I think with fiddle as well, that's going to sound brilliant.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, cool.
I like where you put. Sorry, I forgot your friend's name who sings in it as well.
Rachel.
Rachel, yeah. I like where you put Rachel's voice, and it's almost like it's you you can visual. For me anyway, when I was listening to that, you could visually see someone else. You were regurgitating what someone else was saying, you know, and you could see that kind of reflect. Like, I don't know, like you could see the other person saying it, but you saying it. And
oh, good. Yeah, that's the vibe, and it's all very no reverb on anything, and it's all very closely recorded. It's all very breathy, which sounds nice with the two voices. I think it's quite phone call-y.
Yeah, it's like you can see you're regurgitating someone else's words, which was obviously you're not doing that, but you get that impression.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the plan for the when you're going to release it? I know I've spoken about this a lot in the past year.
I mean,
when are you going to release this music, Louis?
I've been thinking about this a lot recently. So the thing is, with like releasing music, is that like I feel like unless it has a sort of identity as a project that feels realized, then it's a good idea to release it. If you're just sort of recording songs, but the way that you're writing and performing and stuff is changing super rapidly, then there's no real harm in waiting. So I will release something soon.
Just waiting for the right time.
I'm pleased that I haven't up to this point, because I think if I had released something like a year ago, I'd now look back at it and be like, God, I hate how I used to play guitar and sing when I was,
But that's always going to happen. It's always going to evolve,
whatever. No, it is always going to happen. But
yeah, I've got Sparkler,
like... when you're like, that's great. And how old were you then? 21? 20?
I was 19 when I wrote that.
Yeah, but when you released it,
I was 20, so it was like a year later after I released it. Which is
kind of, so like you're a person by then. Do you know what I mean?
It depends. It depends on the person.
It does. Yeah, I feel like I'm almost musically ready to like be like, this is what I do at the moment. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's almost enough of its own thing to not just feel like a direct product of influences.
So would you get it? So you're recording. I say obviously people might not know, but you're recording all this yourself. If that's right, yeah. And then, so you obviously you're gonna mix it yourself. Or you're gonna take it to someone else to mix. What's the plan for that once you're ready to release it?
Yeah. So Carl Ziegler has been mixing some things for me. Who's a lovely man, very talented. He's a keyboard player and producer. Does all the production for Lucy Deacon is his main thing. And Quiet Houses. Yeah, I've been sending him things that we mix together over Zoom.
Nice.
It's quite funny. Yeah, and it's all got. That's part of the sort of cohesive. This is what I want to sound like it thing I was just talking about. So it's all none of it has reverb. It's all slightly distorted. All a little bit fuzzy.
Yeah.
And like no click tracks or anything.
All very free and organic. Those little clips, man. You don't want to. You just leave the clips in. Leave that little bit distortion.
Yeah.
Oh, got a bit intense there.
There's quite a lot of chair squeaking. On that last bend, you can hear the sound of it was recorded on a guitar with like a gloss on the back of the neck, and you can hear my hand go. Like stuff like that's fun,
Yeah.
You listen out for it.
I've got the EP that I did a few years ago. There's like you can hear like the click track in the ears, like coming through it a little bit, and then you can hear like me sitting on a seat, right, who's creaking a lot as well. Me like moving about, recording the acoustic guitar.
Yeah, stuff like that's great. There's this my favorite acoustic guitar recording ever is just of like how it sounds of like that's an acoustic guitar is Hairs on the Mountain by John Smith, and there's this bit in the second like little instrumental break bit where he holds this note for a really long time. I might have played it to you. It's just amazing, and you can hear him go, He's like played it. He's like, nice.
He's like, yep. We're keeping
like
that one. Next fades out.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So have you got like a name for the EP? Have you got like a concept for it? What's the how many songs are going to be on it?
I've got a few ideas. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'm also not entirely sure on like at which point I say songs I'm writing on it. So I've got like 6 songs that are like done.
Mm-hmm.
But I like scrapping things. And the songs I'm writing now are probably better.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Which is, classic indecision. But that's part of the fun of it. There are 4 I'm happy with.
4, you.
So they'll probably come out together. Or I'll just do like a sort of compilation-y thing.
Yeah. Quite a lot of bands I've seen are doing now. They're releasing like albums, but they're doing it in like 3 or 4 tracks at a time.
Okay.
Which is so like
I'm not sure
Jack.
How I feel about that.
I was the same because I was like, I thought initially I was like, that's quite a good idea, instead of just getting one song, you get like 2 or 3 at a time. But it takes away, like if you want to listen to an album, I always find like when you get drip fed albums, you end up you associate it with certain time, like the timeline's all off. So by the time you hear the whole thing, you don't relate to it as one thing. You relate to it as different things. If you know what I mean.
Which would work for like certain types of pop music, because it's not really about the album; it's about the individual songs. But no, I'm not into that. I'm more like, but I do like the idea of people at the start of their releasing musicness, when, like I said, like there's not like this is a finished product, this is what I do. Putting out like, say like we were just talking about Pinegrove the whole time, that everything up to now compilation they released. Like stuff like that I think makes sense for starting out, whereas like releasing an album straight away or releasing even an EP, it's hard to get cohesion if you're still working things out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll work it out. It'll come out at some point.
Oh, the world's waiting, Louis. The world
well,
being me.
No one's waiting. I can take all the time I want.
Yeah, exactly. I mean? That's good. That's good. You don't have any pressure.
But
I get an itch to release things. If I've written something I really like, I'm not sure if it's very egotistical of me, but I'm like, oh shit, this is good. I want people to hear it. Like you get if you're really enjoying it. I remember especially with Better's Enemies, like the latest single that I released, like me and Chris were so like, I remember we were like listening to a rough mix of it, driving back in the car from Dumfries after like finishing the mixes of it, and then we're like, right, let's hear it. And it was the first time we'd heard it. He just sent it over, and Chris put it on, and we're just like, holy shit, this is brilliant! Release it now. You got so excited about it. Yeah,
which is a good thing. It gets stuff done.
But I think it's restraining yourself.
If you can feel like that over an extended period of time, it's probably a good sign that you're not going to hate it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you still think a song's not awful a year after writing it,
yeah,
it's a good sign. Yeah, and I quite like scrapping songs. I think it's healthy. Just get stuff out and not feel like they need to.
Or you can keep bits.
Or be anything. Yeah,
there's certain lines you.
Definitely. Yeah.
I've done that a couple of times recently. There's been I don't like the whole song, but I like the chorus or like one of the lines in the verses, and you keep it, and you can do what you want with it after.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, to end that massive ramble, I'll release something soon.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. I think that's us. We've covered everything we need to cover, and it was great talking again. and hopefully we can get back to Manchester in September. Hopefully, get back to business. Yeah, cool. Right.
Yeah, wicked. All right.
Cool. I'll see you later.
I'll stop recording.
Bye.